Good afternoon, all. Camelback Trading 2724 coming to you this Thursday afternoon, April 16th. We are looking at the last 2 days of the market profile, the SPY ETF, here on WindoTrader. And speaking of WindoTrader, I'm doing a webinar tonight with Mr. Terry Lieberman. I'm very honored to be asked to do that. I'll be doing that at 4:30, so I got to get through this video and get prepared for that. We're in balance, right? We're in a 5-day balance. Yesterday afternoon, kind of a tricky day to trade. Today, again, a little weird throughout the day, although it turned into a pretty rotational day, which we called pretty good in the room at one point early in the afternoon. I started the day off on a very rough note, and I'm not upset with the trade I took. I took it for the right reason. It didn't work out, got out of it, and then battled back, got it all back, and more. So what happened today, we end a couple of things. Value was back and forth all over today. Started higher on the day, became unchanged. It actually became overlapping a low for me at one point, but then for a good part of the afternoon, we were overlapping to higher. The pot got raised a couple of times. It actually got raised in the last time frame to M's low, where we end 9 wide. We battled the opening tremendously a good part of the day, as you can see, with sellers winning a lot of that day, right? I mean, we closed right above it, I believe. Nope, actually we closed right below it on the SPY, but after D, E, and F, we couldn't even get back to it till M period. So it was a very weird day. I'm going to say for the most part, it was a draw. It seemed like the only interest the buyers had today was to fill that gap, which they finally did. Didn't seem like the sellers had any interest at all. We couldn't even take out today's low when we got down there in G, and we couldn't even take out the previous day's low. F's low, which was a real curveball yesterday, right? Thought we were going to take out the low, fade it, and get long. Never happened, never saw it. Well, look at today. B's low is exactly F's low from yesterday, today's low. And then G gets to within a couple of ticks of B. You talk about just mechanical short-term traders involved in this market. Speaking of that, volume pretty bad again. It's, I think, 115 million on the day. 114 million with the after hours. So again, the volume continues to go down. So the trade I took this morning that got myself in trouble. I said I wouldn't do anything early in A. I didn't do anything early in A because I wanted to see if we took out yesterday's high, how it would react, how we would react at the opening. So we opened, didn't take it out, went below the opening, went above the opening. Then we took out yesterday's high. We took it out. We got as high as 278.39. I thought the odds of filling that gap, right? The gap got filled at 278.91, right? So I figured another 40, 50 cents would be a layup. So when we came back in, even though we dipped below the opening briefly, I got long. And it kept battling the opening. My main thing was I didn't want to see us get below A and M, right? So when we came down, I added to it. I added to it a couple of times. And before I knew it, well, we weren't getting back to the opening. We weren't holding A and M. And we certainly weren't going to close the gap, which I thought at that time, I thought there's a 90 to 95% chance we would fill the gap in A period. Finally got out of the trade right below M's high. Pretty big loss. Was I unhappy? Of course I'm unhappy, but I wasn't unhappy I took the trade. Remember, value initially was higher. And the odds I thought were pretty good at filling the gap. So, my mental reserve was beat up pretty good early in the day, and I was down. So I watched the rest of A. Actually, I didn't do anything to D, right? B went down. So now we took out the high from yesterday. B got to within pennies, really, of the previous day's low. Now you have to put in your head, well, we can have an outside day down that early and start pressing down. I mean, think about it. Sellers couldn't do anything yesterday. And all of a sudden, we take out yesterday's high, and now we're going to go take out yesterday's low. Well, they didn't. Came right back in. We didn't even have single prints. C period stopped to one time framing down right away. Now, I didn't do anything in B, anything in C. Right? Just sitting back, relaxing. The worst thing you can do after losing money is to try to chase a trade. It's the worst thing to do no matter what. But when you're down and try to chase, that's where you get yourself in more trouble. You have to let the trade come to you. The right trade has to come to you. You'll see the setup. Okay? So, I didn't do anything in B. I didn't do anything in C, even though C rallied all the way back up above where I sold it. But what I did do, when D opened, we got above the opening, below, we were back and forth. Below the opening, I took a small long, got even bigger as we went down here for a couple of reasons. Value, again, was still overlapping to higher now, again. We're one-time framing up. To me, the sellers had their chance, right? I really thought they had their chance. They failed. Couldn't even take out A's low and C. So now I have more market-generated information. I was comfortable. So now I basically made it a 2-time frame trade. When it went up, took some off because, look, I knew the opening was going to be a battle again. So we went up to the opening, took some off, came back down, put some on. I continued to do that all of D. When E started, again I did it. A little nervous when E got down because if they stop one-time framing up and we're below the opening again, well, then I'm probably out of that trade and probably out even some more. But the way the tempo was, there is some feel to this too. I thought the odds, since they battled all the way back already from down here, is that we were going to at least test this high in A and get the gap. So I did the same thing. And then finally, when we popped above the opening, we popped up, got out of it, got everything that I was down in A, got that all back and more to go green on the day. So I walked the room through it. I was explaining the whole way through what I was doing, why I was doing it, and it worked out very nicely. G period. And then not long after that, obviously, F, we made a new high, we filled the gap, and what happened? The buyers lost interest. The buyers like, okay, we did what we wanted to do, and look what F did. We almost traded the whole day's range, went right down. I didn't do anything in F. I didn't do anything in G to begin with because now G went down. Now I'm like, wow, we took out the high and we're going to attempt to take out the low, right? Usually, you take out one side of the initial balance, the odds are not that big to take out the other, but we got fairly close to doing it. But they didn't do it. So when G period got back into A's range, I got long again and rode it back up and got out at G's high. Okay? J period was a structure trade. And by that I mean, when J period opened, it actually shot down, stopped the one-time framing up, but left incredible gaps in price the whole way up from where it opened. So to me, that was just a push down on emotional trading by algorithms. I got long, even though we stopped the one-time framing up. My out would have been, if we got below A and C's low, I probably would have gotten out. But it went right back up, repaired all the structure. As soon as it repaired the structure, I got out of the trade, and then it continued to go up. Took a small short in K period initially, looking for it to come back down to POC. And at first it did work out. I took some off, then it went back up. It never got to the opening again. I should have held it. I took whatever I had left off, but that was fine. It was a small loss. L period, though, when L period opened, could not take out K's high and was still below the opening, and I'm looking for us to get back down to POC. I took a put trade, added onto it actually a couple of times, wrote it down to POC at that time, and was a very nice trade. And M period, again, unless I have a really good feeling, I try to stay away from M. Well, all the indices were turning green. We stopped the one-time framing down right away. The way the market was acting, to me, we've talked about this before, if I have a good feeling what the 350 algo is going to do, I'll take the trade. So right before 350, when the market pushed down, it wasn't a big trade by any stretch of the imagination. I took a call play. The 350 algo came, popped. I made 50 cents in a minute on a call play. And that's how the day ended for me. We do not go out with a price probe. We couldn't even take out the high. We got close to it. We are firmly in balance. All right, let's go over destinations real quick. I've been talking a lot. Upside, today's high, 280.03. Then 284.90, daily high. And then I've given you the other ones above that. For the downside, we have today, 9 wide got raised, right, at the end of the day, the M period. It's low, 278.61, 9 wide, 275.76, today's low, 275.46, yesterday's low, 273.47, 11 wide from April 13th. And then let's go to the charts. Monthly, back and forth through that 278 level all day. Closed above it again by around $1. But again, it's a monthly. We don't know. We have the rest of the month to figure out if they're going to get above it and stay above it. Weekly, one time framing up 3 weeks with 1 day to go. Unless a disaster happens tomorrow, we'll be one time framing up for 4 weeks. Obviously, bulls would like to stay above last week's high, 281.20. We'll see if they can do that tomorrow. But we are one time framing up for 4 weeks almost. And then on the daily, 5-day balance, right? It's a big balance, right? The midpoint is, I think, 278.16. We closed at 279.10. So this is a market in the shortest time frame that is still searching for market-generated information, as we've basically closed now 2 days in a row right in the middle of a 5-day balance, $14 range. Plain and simple, right? It's a balance. So you play the balance rules right now until we come out of it on the daily. I hope you had a good day trading. Have a great night, and we'll speak prior to the opening tomorrow.